Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the OK Grognard Show. It is Friday, December 18th, 2020, 10 a.m. Central, in beautiful Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. Well, it's Friday, makes it a Building Adventures Day, and I've been enjoying it so much, playing off of these different parts of 30 Things Can Happen. And since it's the last Building Adventures show, last Friday show of the year, I thought I'd just relax into it and make a few crazy hooks off of springboards in the various parts of 30 Things Can Happen. Because that's one of the things I enjoy, is how much you can do with 30 Things Can Happen. Using a random thing as a way of making an adventure. It's kind of fun. So let's pull out the old 30 sider. There we go. Of course, it's green, so it's got that green screen effect. Yeah, I think one of the things I want to do is, during the 2-week vacation, is set things up a little differently around here so that I don't have all of this ghosting in the green screen area. It needs to be set up better, but it's never been a top priority. So it's something we can do during the 2-week downtime. Maybe we should adjust the title cards too a little bit. Somebody was saying that it's hard to look through the video options in YouTube and not begin to see the same thing over and over again because the wording is so small but the icons are so big. And I don't know, there's something to that. So maybe it needs a refresh for season 2 of the OK Grognard Show. But let's dive in and have a look at some of these options in here. Here, let's move me over a little bit. There we go. That's better. 30 things can happen. It's so true. 30 things can always happen. Well, let's start off in one section. 23. In a narrow passage. 10, 20, 1, 2, 3. While underground in a narrow passage. One up. Where's it at? There it is. Okay. The 3 subcategories are bits and pieces results, rocks and residue results, and flora and fauna results. Right at the top, number 1, bits and pieces results. A buckle or strap has become caught in a crevice and can't be reached easily to dislodge. Okay. So something maybe in the middle of your backpack as you're crawling through a narrow passage has gotten stuck on something, and now you can't easily dislodge it because watch out for your microphone, because you can't reach around to get to it or even catch it with a knife and cut yourself loose, even though that means damaging the buckle or strap. Maybe you'll have to somehow wriggle out of your entire backpack to find a way. So this is something, as far as building adventures is concerned, that if you have a narrow passage, lower the ceiling too. You know, it doesn't just have to be narrow left to right. It can be tight top to bottom too. And if players want to crawl through it, maybe it's rough enough that it can catch on to a backpack buckle or strap. Something can get caught, and then suddenly you're stuck. And if you yell and scream about it to the other player characters while you're in there, no, somebody help! Maybe there's something on the far side of that narrow passage that will hear and come running for dinner. So set that up and drop it into an adventure you're writing just for fun. Let's roll another one on this particular 16. Cool. It's in the second section. Number 16. The dirt floor, this is in the rocks and residue results. The dirt floor of this passage has oil drops every few feet. Oil drops every few feet. Well, something could have come through here just recently, or oil drops stick around for a while. Doesn't have to have been super recently. But something could have come through here with a puncture in a flask or barrel or cask of oil, and now it's been dripping. A not completely sealed container. The way they were carrying it has allowed it to drip. Or every few feet, check that ceiling. Every few feet, is there a hole in the ceiling? Is there a room above this where they drop oil down, and because of the way in which they have it set up, ready to go, there's an occasional drip, 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 as oil continues to drip down from above, perhaps tipping off. So maybe a wisdom check is due for the party to see if anybody puts it together. Maybe you just the wisdom check's just to notice the drops. Maybe you leave it to them to put it together. Maybe you don't give them that much. If it's dripping, it's got to be dripping from something. So it's either dripping from something that has passed through, or it's dripping from above. And you should be able to figure that out without getting a wisdom check roll. But maybe you want to give them that much. Give them a little scare. Maybe there's nobody up there now, and maybe what it is if they figure out how to get up above this room into that other room, maybe it's just a good source of oil that's just laying around waiting. Maybe there's only so much left, but maybe that's a useful resource. Maybe that is, in essence, a treasure. 27. All right, we're on the third. We're on Flora and Fauna results for this one. Dex check for fall. There you go. When we used to play, says Bob, 1E as teens, I think we essentially ignored wisdom. Yeah? Well, you were teens. I made a youthful joke. It's in the age tables. As older guys gain wisdom. Younger people lose it. Of course, they have strength and constitution. Yeah, I'd trade. Dex check for fall. We didn't get it. Yeah. And, all of the stats. I like using ability checks from all of the stats for one thing or another. Under any circumstances, you can kind of, I think, adjudicate in a way that you just look at what's going on and you can say, yeah, that would be more in tune with wisdom or intelligence, figuring out a puzzle, I guess, or figuring out how a mechanism works. Dexterity, maybe it's a dex check. Maybe the mechanism is easy to look at and figure, but because of the way it's configured, it is tough to manipulate. so it requires a dex check. Or maybe it's old and rusty and stuck, and a strength check is going to help you force it open in one way or another. Maybe you get +2 on that strength check with a little pry bar or some thieves' tools or a rock. Sometimes a rock's your best answer to a problem. Constitution check, of course, swimming a long time or exerting yourself in for an extended period. That endurance is all about under the Constitution. And of course, charisma checks. If you're negotiating or attempting to sway a crowd or something that is beyond morale checks or beyond initial reaction checks, ongoing ability to be charismatic, to be to bend people to your will and or to attract them or delight them or anything that involves interaction sociologically can often be used in a charisma check. But we rolled a 27, so we have in the Flora and Fauna results a trail of breadcrumbs leads down the narrow passage into a 6-inch round hole to one side. Okay. That's a little loose on the Flora and Fauna results, but I guess it works. Maybe there's something in that little hole that has left that trail of breadcrumbs, hence the fauna. A 6-inch round hole. Well, what could be so threatening? What could be so smart, so clever as to leave the breadcrumbs? What did they leave the breadcrumbs for? Surely they don't think that all but the most desperate of starving adventurers would be foolish enough to follow that trail and start nibbling those breadcrumbs. We've got iron rations after all. So the trail's probably not left for the adventurers, but to attract, to bait some other creatures, and probably creatures that can fit in a 6-inch round hole. But what's up with that 6-inch round hole? Is there something in there that put the breadcrumbs out? Or is the hole a trap? Maybe with some sort of a slicing door, a guillotine. It's meant to... Maybe it's just to attract someone and make you think it's like a rat trap or a snake trap or something, to catch something small, something that can fit in a 6-inch round hole. Maybe the breadcrumbs are meant to throw you off. Maybe this part of the adventure is several layers of trap. Because in fact, if you look down the little hole, if you have a light source, you look in the little hole, there'll be a dead rat body or something with what looks like a shiny bauble, a ring or a bracelet or a necklace or something in its jaws. It died in the trap. But maybe that's only 2 feet deep, this 6-inch round hole, and maybe there is a little guillotine trap. Maybe you're about to lose an arm if you reach in for that thing. Maybe if you put a hook on the end of a 10-foot pole, you'd be better off, because when that slicer comes down... Hey, Misty, how you doing? 3-second rule. Yeah, the 3-second rule definitely applies to the breadcrumbs. If they've been there longer than that, they're on the ground. You shouldn't be eating them, at least not without being severely chided by everybody else in the group. Bob's, we all did that when we were young, says Rick. Bob says, I don't think we figured out how to do ability checks at all. Yeah, it's just, it's the fallback rule. In first edition, even in original D&D, what we used to do was anytime there wasn't some other system or rule to cover some situation, you could always default to just deciding what circumstances dictated as far as which ability score would be most applicable. And then you just roll ability or less. You had a better chance with a 17 than a 13 on a d20 of getting your ability score or less, for instance. So the better your ability score, the better the chance. And DMs could always give a couple of pluses. You know, if you get a +2, a +5, if you were rolling and it was something that was relatively simple. So if you rolled if your ability was 13, get a bonus plus 15, move it up to 15. How did we do it? No, you know what? Usually it's just take numbers off the roll. So opposite of what I'm saying here, awkwardly, is if it was easier, roll the die and take 2 off the die. So if you rolled a 15 and you took 2 off, it was 13. And then if your ability score was 13, then you hit your number or below. So, yeah, I mean, you could do it either way, obviously. Add to the ability score and still roll under it. In any event, failure, of course, usually was pretty obvious what was going to happen. Sometimes you would just ask a player what their ability score was, and you'd roll behind the screen for something they might not be immediately aware of the results. But if they were, players like to roll dice, so often you make them roll because that's what makes it fun. Let's see. 29. Oh, that's the second. That's the second to last one. Let's get down there and see what that is. There we go. That's finding a treasure. Underground. Well, underground at a secret door. I rolled a 4. The 3 areas, though, are slightly hidden results, giveaway results, and challenging results. But a 4 falls under slightly hidden results, and it says, a lever made of iron and covered in blood is angled upward 2 feet above the floor. There you go. Push that lever down. Just maybe use a glove or something since it's covered in blood. No need to worry about why the blood's on it, right? Could be anything. A lever made of iron covered in blood is angled upward 2 feet above the floor. Well, often levers are trapped. There's only 2 options, right, with levers. Leave them alone or manipulate them. And there's only a couple of options for what they do. Usually, nobody's going to build a lever into something unless it's meant to do something, right? So maybe you have some fake levers in your dungeon, but it's kind of hard to justify them because there is a cost to them, and there is the time of putting them in, and there's the thinking that if you're putting in a fake lever, you must have some real ones around somewhere. Maybe you needed 2, but it was cheaper to buy a dozen of them. So now you've got 10 extra levers. So you just smack them onto the wall here and there like free stickers from a farmer's market or something. You're just popping them up on, pop a lever up on the fridge, pop a lever up on the cabinet, put one out in the out in the garage, and they're just there, and people can crank those levers, and they do nothing whatsoever, and they don't know. So now they're trying to figure out what it's supposed to do. I don't know. Fake levers are an interesting thing, but they seem tough to justify, I think, when you're building a dungeon, creating a dungeon. Let a player do something like that for sure, but if they build a stronghold, but I don't know that you do that. So it's got to be attached to something. So what is this iron lever attached to? Well, the fact that it's iron might mean something, right? I mean, if you could get away with using a wooden lever, wouldn't that be cheaper and easier? So this was built to last, or because it's a physical mechanical thing, it required it to be made of iron because of the stress engineering wise that it would be under from manipulating it once or multiple times or whatever. So it needs to trip something, and what that is, a lot of times in dungeons, if there's a portcullis somewhere, there's going to be some sort of a way of manipulating it. It can be mechanically hidden away, and a lever could just be enough to make it drop, or usually those are on chains or ropes. So that's the easiest thing. Or it may lock. It may set in place the lock for a pit trap, a covered pit trap. Lock it so you could walk right across without problems. Now, why the blood on it, though? That is a mystery here that I don't know if you want to solve right out of the gate. Maybe that's something you leave as a mystery. Maybe there was just a fight in the area. Maybe there should be other signs of a fight. Maybe there's a blood stain on the floor that then is smear that's dragged around a near corner, and there's a creature nearby that killed something here, and so you know it's in their patrol area. So that justifies it from the adventure building sense of things. So there's a number of ways to go with that. I think covered pit traps, the ones that have like spring-loaded doors, or any trap that can be sprung. If it's in what would have been a high traffic area for that location, whatever the complex is, I think you want to have levers or buttons or something that at least temporarily disable the trap, or disable them until you put the lever back the other way, and then it resets or makes available the trap. And that way, those in the know, those who are part of the complex, can come and go without any fear of, knock all the levers down and you can walk right out of the place, right past 6 or 7 traps. Maybe one lever actually handles multiple traps, or traps within a section. Now, that's a lot of mechanics to have hidden. If the trap isn't right nearby, right around the corner, whatever, then that's a lot of mechanical stuff going on in the walls for it to do 6 or 7. Could be magical, though. I mean, I hate to add magic to something that can be done mechanically, because I feel that it can be dealt with by more people if it is mechanical rather than magical. I also feel like it makes more sense in game terms if things are done with some sort of mechanical mechanisms rather than falling back on magic. Because there are certain things you can only do with magic, and the excitement or mystique of them is greater, I feel, if most things are done mechanically, and then only that rare, special few things are done with magic. Let's roll another one. 24. All right, that's in challenging results. And it says, creeper vines cover an otherwise bare wall, and pieces of armor, typo, I said or armor, and pieces of armor can be seen hanging among them. All right, these are always fun. So creeper vines aren't necessarily fast or nasty or whatever, but maybe something died here, and somehow some vines have sprung up. And in the course of them springing up over time, a suit of loose armor that had been moldering against the wall has now been pieces of it have been lifted up with the vines, so it's sort of spread out on the wall now. Maybe it needs some repair, but maybe it is very good or even possibly magical armor that's just in pieces. So maybe if you can figure out a way to pull the pieces out of it. Not everything needs to be a trap, but let's allow us to consider that possibility. These creeper vines can be some sort of a sentient, quicker moving, grabbing, squeezing. Maybe they did indeed grab somebody and crushed them, pulled them apart. All organic material is now gone. Maybe that's why it's pieces of armor, because the leather straps were organic, and maybe the creeper vines have some sort of a acidic quality. They have some sort of like stomach acid. It breaks down the organic material so it can be absorbed by whatever these vines are. So this is something you'd probably want to have. I don't know if you want to have it underground. I guess they could be underground vines that don't require sunlight. But whenever I hear vines, I often think this is an outdoor thing. So maybe closer to an entrance. Maybe a cave that has some sort of hole in the ceiling. Some passage that leads up and out. Anyway, I think we've covered a bunch of stuff today. We just kind of rambled. It was fun building adventures on a Friday. Doing that 30 things can happen thing. And it's been good. Hey, I want to thank everybody who follows the show and who chimed in on the stream chat today. I appreciate it very, very much. Got 3 more shows before the end of the year for me. Tomorrow, Sunday, and Monday. And then we're going to take 2 weeks off. We'll be back in January on Monday the 4th. In the new year, we'll be doing 2 shows, 2 scheduled shows a week, Monday and Thursday. And then Monday will be announcements and also reviews and some other things outside the game, but still to do with gaming, convention schedules, things like that. Thursdays will be the day when we'll put all of these other stuff together. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Rick, very much. We'll put all that stuff together in the building adventures and and Misty, thank you too for being here. Building adventures, campaign discussion, GMing tips, world building, cartography, rules retrospective. All of that will be in on the Thursday show format. There'll probably be a little meatier shows, or maybe they'll just be better produced, so I'm not rambling as much. I don't know. Kind of like the not do so much work to get this done. It certainly makes it easier to do it all the time, or to do as much as I do. So we'll see. We'll be enjoying that going forward. Just that few shows left, as I mentioned. GM reviews, rules retrospective, and weekly news and announcements. And, of course, if you're watching this on YouTube, thank you very much. Please do subscribe to the channel. Give us a thumbs up on any videos you are watching and enjoy, and feel free to make comments if you like. This is the OK Grognon Show from beautiful Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. Bye-bye.